Welcome to Module 2. Here we're going to break down the different classes of railroads, the key players in North America, and the major departments that keep everything moving. Let's get stuck in. There are four main classes of railroads in North America: Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, and passenger rail. Each one plays a different role in the system, from the big guys that stretch across borders down to the short lines connecting local shippers. Passenger services stand on their own, moving people instead of freight. Class 1 railroads are the largest carriers in North America. Let's take a closer look at what that means. To be Class 1, a railroad needs annual revenue of at least $900 million. In the US, Class 1 examples are Union Pacific, BNSF, CSX, and Norfolk Southern. In Canada, the only two Class 1 railways we've got are CN and CPKC. These carriers handle long-haul freight across regions, borders, and even into Mexico. They're the heavy lifters of the rail industry. Now, Class 2 railroads, these are regional carriers that fill in the space between the giants and the short lines. Class 2 operations earn between $40 million and $900 million a year. They cover regional routes that don't make sense for Class 1 railways to touch. Class 2 examples in the US include Florida East Coast and Alaska Rail. In Canada, the Quebec North Shore and Labrador Railway is a good example. Class 3 railroads are often called short lines. Short lines earn under $40 million a year. They're small but important. They usually connect local shippers to the Class 1 networks. In the US, you've got operations like Florida East Coast or Alaska Rail, and in Canada, QN-SNL is an example. They usually handle medium distance freight and keep the supply chain connected at the local level. Alongside freight, passenger rail has its own important role. In North America, passenger rail takes on three main forms: intercity rail, like Amtrak in the US and Via Rail in Canada; commuter or regional services like GO Transit in Toronto or Metrolink in California; and urban transit systems like subways, light rail, and streetcars. These systems connect cities, reduce highway congestion, and provide vital mobility for millions. Now that we've covered the classes, let's talk about the big names, the key players who dominate the rail industry. Canadian National, or CN, covers almost half of Canada's rail network, about 22,000 kilometers. Headquartered in Montreal, they employ around 22 to 25,000 people. CN is transcontinental, stretching across Canada and deep into the US. Their main freight is intermodal, grain, forest products, coal, petroleum, and automotive. Canadian Pacific Kansas City, or CPKC, was formed in 2023 from the merger of CP and Kansas City Southern. They're the only single-line railway connecting Canada, the US, and Mexico. With about 20,000 miles of track, they hold about 25 to 30% of Canada's rail infrastructure. They focus heavily on automotive, intermodal, and bulk freight, with unionized operations across three countries. Via Rail is Canada's national passenger service. They serve over 400 communities across 8 provinces, based out of Montreal. Most of their trains run on freight-owned tracks, but their focus is intercity travel, especially the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. They're federally regulated, unionized, and currently modernizing their fleet. GO Transit, run by Metrolinx, is the regional public transit system for the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. It operates 7 rail lines and a major bus network, all centered on Toronto. It's publicly funded, unionized, and expanding through electrification and more frequent service. Beyond Via and GO, there are smaller regional services like EXO in Montreal, Ontario Northland, and BC's West Coast Express. They provide commuter and regional connections, usually on freight-owned tracks. They're publicly operated, provincially funded, and play a big role in connecting local communities. Union Pacific is one of the largest U.S. railroads, with over 32,000 miles of track across 23 states. They connect into Canada through interchanges and handle a wide range of freight, everything from coal and agriculture to chemicals and intermodal. They're based west of the Mississippi and employ a heavily unionized workforce. BNSF, owned by Berkshire Hathaway, runs 32,500 miles of track across 28 states. They link into Canadian markets through partnerships with CN and CPKC. Their main freight is grain, coal, intermodal, and consumer goods. Like UP, they're a major player in the US and have a strong union representation. CSX covers about 20,000 miles in the eastern US, reaching into Quebec and Ontario through interchanges. They're based in Florida and move freight like coal, intermodal, and agricultural products. Heavily unionized, CSX is a major eastern carrier. Norfolk Southern runs 19,500 miles in the southeast and eastern US. They don't operate directly in Canada, but they connect through CN and CPKC. Their freight focus is intermodal, coal, and automotive. They're unionized and investing heavily in modernization and sustainability. Amtrak is the U.S. national passenger rail carrier. They serve 46 states and reach into Canada through routes like the Maple Leaf and others. They operate on a mix of their own and freight-owned tracks. Like VIA, they're federally subsidized, unionized, and focusing on modernization. Let's take a look at the different departments within the railroad. Transportation is the core of all rail operations. Train crews, dispatchers, and yardmasters all work here. Their job? Move trains safely and on time. Plain and simple. Engineering. Engineering keeps the infrastructure safe. Tracks, bridges, signals, all maintained and upgraded by this department. Without them, nothing runs. Mechanical looks after locomotives and rail cars. Inspections, repairs, and routine maintenance keep equipment safe and ready for service. Operations and terminal management. This group runs the yards and terminals. They handle arrivals, departures, and cargo transfers to keep freight moving efficiently. Safety and compliance. Safety and compliance is about rules and standards. They audit, train, and make sure the railroad follows government regulations. Customer service and marketing. Well, they do exactly what it says on the tin. This team works with shippers and passengers. They manage contracts, service quality, and bring in new business. Crew management. Crew management handles staffing, scheduling train crews, tracking hours of service, and ensuring agreements are followed. Information and technology. IT powers modern rail, from GPS tracking to automation. They make operations faster, safer, and more efficient. HR and labor relations cover hiring, training, benefits, and union negotiations. Critical in an industry where most jobs are unionized. Environmental and sustainability. This department focuses on emissions,